This is going to be the first part for the AutoHARP tutorials, which will cover basic installation and initialization of the AutoHARP program itself. I've already downloaded AutoHARP 1.0, AutoHARP Sci-Fi Database, and AutoHARP Fantasy Database. One question that I'm sure is going to come up is, what order do I install these? And you need to install AutoHARP 1.0 first. This is the base application, and when you install this, you'll get the base execution files, but you'll also get a demo database that goes with it. This was the database that came up before we had the full databases commercially available. So we're going to install this first. It's an RPL license. Go ahead and read that if you don't know what a reciprocal public license is. We need both the XML and AutoHARP files. We're going to install it in the default directory C AutoHARP. But do remember this path, because you're going to need it later on when we install the full databases. Okay, so now we have an installation of AutoHARP with a demo database for both HARP Sci-Fi and HARP Fantasy. What we're going to do now is install the full database that you would have purchased for HARP Fantasy, and we're going to put that in the same place that we installed AutoHARP 1.0. And then if you purchase the HARP Sci-Fi database, we're going to go ahead and install that as well in exactly the same place that we installed AutoHARP 1.0, same procedure. And that's that. Another question would be, if we got subsequent updates to AutoHARP, do I need to reinstall HARP Fantasy and HARP Sci-Fi? And the answer to that question is yes. One thing you could do when you install an update is you can come here to AutoHARP and you can take this file, HARP databases, and just copy it to the desktop. And then when you install HARP databases again, and I'll show you what we can, let's say this is an update that I'm installing. I'll just quickly run through this. It's going to bring back the HARP databases directory. What you can do is you can just simply delete that folder and bring your folder over back here. Oops. I didn't mean to do that. Let's try that again. There we go. And so now what we've just done is we've just saved a copy of it onto the desktop, and then we brought it back after we installed a supposed AutoHARP update. You would have to do that for every single time you made an update to AutoHARP, so be sure to keep a backup of your HARP databases, especially if you're doing customization. If you have customized HARP databases, you will lose your data if you reinstall AutoHARP again. What we're going to do now is go over the Preferences XML file, which can be found down here. We're going to open that up in Notepad or any Word application like Microsoft Word, TextPad, if that even exists still. A lot of this, it's just an XML file, and a lot of this information you're probably not going to change. There's eventually, when we get to advanced stuff, I'll show you what a lot of these nodes mean, especially this use true. But for now, let's just keep to the simple part of this file, which is the starting money for HARP Fantasy and for HARP Sci-Fi. You can change this value to anything you want. So instead of 15, you can say, I want to start the character off with 25 silver. Just change it back to 15. Or you can start off with 2,500 souls, for example. Down here, you can change the starting fate points. If you're not too sure or comfortable with what an XML file is or how it works, you might want to go up online and read about what XML is. It's basically just kind of a high-level HTML that you kind of define yourself. It's very popular for database and for doing like very customized HTML work. So here, our node for starting fate points is here, and we can just say I want to start the character off with no fate points. but instead I'm going to put down 3. The statistic option, we can change that to 1, 2, or 3 based on the rules of the book. We can change the skill progression to whatever you want. And down here we can change how development points are calculated. If you want to use book rules, come down here to use regular rules, just change this to true. If you don't want to use regular rules and you have your own customized rules, then change that to false and define your custom rules here. You can use functions like sine and cosine, although that probably complicates things a bit too much. You might want to consider maybe using something like max or min, where you can have them roll 2 values. Or you can have, so for example, I'm going to say max 1d10 and 1d10. So the computer will roll 2 1d10s, and it will choose the max of that roll and add it to 50. You don't have to go that far with this. You can just say 50 plus level. That's enough. Or you can just say 50. And when we're finished, we're going to save the file, and our initialization is finished. We'll close down, come back up here, and for the next part we will create a new character sheet.